Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mackie and I hope you're all having a great day today. We are back for another Tiny Home Tuesday and it is so freezing and windy outside right now. I'm gonna be working in the tiny home today. It's the last day of the week, so this video will be up tomorrow, but it has been so stormy all week long. It's been raining like on and off every day, so I haven't really gotten the chance to do much this week, unfortunately. There's only a couple more days of rain and then it's looking pretty clear for a while, so I'm excited for that. I've basically just been putting the finishing touches on the exterior of the tiny home this week. I have to get a permit for the electrical and plumbing and everything, so I'm waiting on that, and it's just irritating. This week is a little uneventful, but I still want to at least give you guys an update because why not? Okay, other than all that, let's just get straight into the update video. So like I said before, this week was extremely rainy and I just kind of had to work when I had that opportunity. So that happened to be at night a lot of times. But the first thing I had to do was take some of the house wrap and hammer tack it up onto the exposed parts. The only reason these areas are even exposed is because this is where I built the pony wall so that we could get that slanted roof. So I only had to cover up these small little areas, and the edges that were hanging over, I just stuck them down behind the shiplap. Once the front had the house wrap on it, it was time to start installing the shiplap. So first I just measured out how long I needed my planks to be, and I just used my miter saw to make the cuts on all these ends. I had to take about 2 feet off these 12-foot planks. Once all my pieces were cut, it was time to start installing it. So all I did was just slip it right on there, and I used 2-inch stainless steel deck screws to drill them into place along the studs. And I screw this in about 3/4 of the way up on the tongue, since these are tongue and groove planks. So I do that just because when you put the next piece of shiplap on top of it, you see no screws at all. So I just went ahead and installed these 2 pieces. The reason the shiplap doesn't go all the way to the edge is because that little exposed area is actually completely flush with the front of the house. So this is where the trim work is going to be going. So that's going to end up being covered up. So that is why the shiplap doesn't go all the way to the end. But I just finished up installing these 2 pieces, and the last and final piece that goes at the top has to be cut completely in half. So I didn't want to do that at night since it's going to be a longer cutting process and I don't want to disturb people. So I decided to hold off and do that one tomorrow. But in the meantime, I went ahead and started putting the house wrap on the sides of the house. So I just used my razor to make this little cut, then went up on the ladder and once again used my hammer tacker to start stapling it down. The main goal is just to get it waterproof before all the big rainstorms hit, because we don't want the tiny house getting flooded. So I just hurried up and finished this off because that night it started pouring rain. So I'm super happy I got all of this done at least, and no water ended up getting in. The next day I went back to that final piece of shiplap that I need for the front of the house, and I just started marking out exactly down the center of where I need to make my cut so that it fits in there up against the top of the rafters, and hopefully no water would get in once again. So I just marked this all out, just one straight line across the entire plank, and then I took my skill saw and just cut it out. Once I had it all cut, it's time to start installing it. And before I cut any of these planks, I always triple check to make sure I'm cutting the correct end, because if you don't, then you're wasting a whole expensive piece of shiplap and that really sucks. So always triple check to make sure you're cutting the right end. So once again, I just took my screws and drilled this directly into place, and that was the final result of the front of the tiny house. Except I still need to put some plywood underneath the rafters so no animals or bugs get in. But yeah, this is pretty much the end result of the front. Then the time had come to start installing the shiplap on the side of the tiny house, and this seriously took me so long to figure out how I could make a slanted cut that would fit the slope of the roof. But finally, I figured it all out, so here I am trying to explain it to you guys. Well, right now, I'm going to try to make this as simple to understand as possible because it could be quite confusing. So this shiplap is going on the sides of the tiny house. So we have the slope going from the back all the way up to the front. And basically my roof rises 1 inch for every 12 inches. So the back starts at 0, and then by the time you get to the very front of the roof, oh my gosh. By the time you get to the very front of the roof, it is 12 inches up in the air. So if that makes sense, starts at 0, you move up 12 inches, you mark out 1, move up 12 inches, mark out 2, and so by that time it's a diagonal line going all the way up. So I basically need to cut this shiplap in a way that there's a diagonal line so it can fit with the slant of the roof, if that makes any sense at all. So the first thing I need to do is just cut 2 feet off the plane. Gosh. Oh my gosh, I feel like the tiny house is gonna friggin' blow over. Could you imagine if I'm just in here working right now and all of a sudden the tiny home just tipped over? Oh, that'd be bad, but also kind of funny. Our starting point is down at this corner, so that's just gonna, basically the diagonal line is gonna start at this point and start going up. So I need to mark out 12 inches from right there. So that's right there. Move over to that 12-inch mark, and then just mark out 1 inch. There's our first 1 inch mark right there. So now once again we're just moving over 12 inches, marking it again right there. Gets marked at 2 inches. Once again, move over 12 inches and mark out 3 inches. And we just keep doing the same exact thing over and over and over again. I'll just start drawing the diagonal line so you can see what I am talking about. So now this is just like dot to dot, you know, that game. I know it's all confusing, but it basically goes off the pitch of your roof. For example, mine is 1 in 12, so that's why it rises 1 inch for every 12 inches. But if you had a 2 in 12 roof, that would mean you'd start at 0, 12 inches from that, you'd mark it 2 inches, 12 inches from that, you'd mark it 4 inches, and so on. So it all just depends what your pitch is. But hopefully that explains it a little bit better. I'm just mimicking that entire equation per se onto this piece of shiplap, hoping that it was a good end result, and it did happen to work. So hopefully this makes sense. You literally just keep going until it eventually like veers off of the board completely. So now we have this diagonal line that will match the pitch of the roof perfectly and just slide right up against the overhang. Once it was all finally marked out, I just took my skill saw and made that cut, and here you can definitely see what I'm talking about, how it's a super pointed diagonal line. It was just way too windy and cold, so I waited until the next day to install it. And that's that. Finally, the day had come to install the last piece of shiplap. And as you can see, that slant just sits directly up against the overhang and slides right into place, which is super satisfying. But then my camera stopped recording, but all I did was screw it directly into place like all the other ones and called it a day. Alright, and that is where the video wraps up for this week on the tiny home update. Hopefully next week is hot and sunny with no rain, so we can really power through this because I'm excited to start working on the interior. And the other night I was just in here mapping everything out, and just to give you guys a little sneak peek, I think the bathroom is going to be in this corner right here, and above the bathroom is going to be the loft where the bed is, and then I'm going to have the TV over on this wall. So that's just a little sneak peek of the floor plan that I'm thinking about, but who knows, could end up changing. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're new here, please subscribe and turn on post notifications because I post the tiny home updates and also do some other random stuff as well. It's a pretty random channel, to be honest, but it's fun. And if you want to see more from the tiny home, I post updates every single day on TikTok, which is just Mackie Albertson. So if you want to see more of the tiny home, go over to my TikTok because there's a new video there every single day. Other than all that, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.